Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Welcome aboard, everybody. Hello, happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Ready to get the week started. If not, we're ready to get it started for you. Charlie Miller with us early on today. Hello, Charlie. How are you, sir?
Great, Jim. How you doing?
Cannot complain.
Awesome.
It's a sunny day out there, although it's going to be kind of chilly here. It's okay. We got to keep waiting a little longer for the warm-up, although it's going to be like 70s on Wednesday, and then it drops back down to the 50s. But soon enough, I guess it'll get warm. How are things down your way?
Well, I don't want to talk about the weather because you might not like me. I might get kicked off the show. But the weather, it's going to be, I think, close to like the 80s today. But it's very temperamental because, 2 weeks ago, it was like near freezing. So you never know how to dress. But other than that, things are going great in Texas.
That's good to hear, my friend. It is almost the end of the basketball season. The Final Four is set this weekend. We saw that take place, which not as dramatic as the tournament has been up until that point, but it's kind of like some normalcy kind of returned. The Peacocks went down. Their Magical Mystery Tour ended with a loss yesterday. Kansas moving on as a number one seed. Then we still got the stories. You got Duke and Mike Krzyzewski. Is he going to pull one out on his last go round? And then who am I missing? There's yet another team that I'm leaving out.
Well, Kansas, Villanova, UNC.
Villanova,
Yeah.
Yeah, North Carolina. How about the ACC?
Yeah. This is again, it's every, you can go back 20 years. You can almost count with a high percentage, Jim, the teams that's going to be in the Sweet 16, Elite 8. And I think that's a DNA we can learn from in the Big Ten. Nothing against it, but we get knocked out early. It's like almost inevitable. But man, that's a great blueprint.
I've noticed that especially in the last couple of seasons, the Big Ten regular season is just not like the tournament season.
The tournament,
they're just different. They play. It's all about matchups, of course, but it seems to be played at a different speed. You have to be up to snuff defensively, but you have to have the offense to go with it. You can't be one-dimensional.
You just said it, and that's where scouting reports almost you have to throw out the door. Like, we don't know tendencies, the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, but now you got to face it. And you have teams that may have a little bit more to play, a little more incentive to play against you as a Big Ten opponent. And they want to prove. And you end up taking teams that you might beat down to the wire that may finish in the middle of their conference. But yeah, so the tournament's a different season. It's a fair season, and you always see the teams that rise to the top. You kind of can look at the traits of those teams and see why they do year over year.
Absolutely. And of course, we know that last week there was a change made on the staff of Indiana basketball. And Brian Walsh has been moved up, I guess you'd say. He had previously worked on the previous staff, but also been working on recruiting as a recruiting director.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's been moved up to the number 3 spot, I guess you say, on the assistant, a full-fledged assistant coach. So congratulations to Brian Walsh, who's been around here for a couple years now. This is probably will be his 6th season in Bloomington, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's at least there's some continuity there at least.
Yeah. I just when I came in, great organic growth. I mean, being promoted from inside and being around the program and adding value that way. Yeah, hats off to him.
And of course, he's replacing Dane Fife with that's the a whole nother story. But it is what it is, and everybody was bombarding me with stuff last time. I'm like, man, it is what it is. I don't know any more really than you do on this one. But it is what it is, and I saw something yesterday that it could have been handled differently, but maybe I don't know how else you can handle that, because again, I wasn't involved in that. So it's just not it was not a good look. I will say that. Don't know what went wrong, but just kind of not a great look for a program that's trying to find its way back, I guess you'd say, Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a bittersweet feel. It's a bitter feel because of the a lot of publicity was around it, a lot of mystery was around it. All of a sudden, you find out, Dane is coming back home, right? So you make this big fanfare about it, and now, so just almost like the first one in, first one out. I mean, with the immediacy. And I don't have any reference as to how it could be handled, and but you can send a message to other coaches that might be interested, and you don't know why. Again, you don't know why it was done. There was a difference of opinion, difference of philosophy, play style. You just don't know, and I don't know. But I guess it'll be a learning lesson for all involved, probably from Coach Woody, if it was handled, too publicly, too soon, or it's a learning lesson. I mean, I still give him, he's still young as a college coach, his first year. Yes, he's coaching the NBA, but that doesn't mean you're not a coach everywhere and you know how to handle every situation. It'd be a learning lesson for everybody.
Al Durham made the all-region team. Someone I saw mention that in the comments up here. Good for him, for Providence. I know he had 21 points in their loss. Yesterday, but a great run for Providence.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's always good, and you can then people can say, oh God, he could have done that for us. No, you don't know that, right? You don't know what anybody could do. You have this now new system called transfer portal, as we probably are going to segue into that, coming up with players that have put their name in their hat on the team now, recently. But you just never know. You had Justin Smith had a great run with Arkansas, right? I mean, it's about fit. Jim, now I can say that at 45 minutes, it's about fit, team philosophy, style of play, margin for error from coaches, and I mean that means a lot to players. And now players are more vocal and more take charge of their game now than I think ever before. If I compare it to my era. So it's off to him. I hope him the best.
Yeah. And as everyone asking, a lot of people asking about rumors in the portal, that's all they are, man. If it happens, it happens. When people asking about Geronimo, I'm like, dude, if he enters the portal, he enters the portal. I'm not going to sit here and spend my days worrying about who is and is not in the portal. Because it is what it is, and the coaches know what's going down. If that happens, then they're already in the portal looking. That's not something I'm going to concern myself with anymore. There's no point in it, because it's going to change. If it's going to change, it's going to change. And you got to let it be. It's a different day. It's a different game.
Yes.
It's weird. It's weird. It's like watching, your teams are now kind of semi-pro teams.
It is. It is.
Just
Jim,
accept
it is.
Accept it, baby.
It's like you got a core, and you're very fortunate in transparency if your core, one or two of your core is 40% of your offense or better. If they're not, you have concerns, and then you have the rumor mill because you have a promising player like a Geronimo. Not saying he's doing that, and now you're like, oh God, is he going to leave? He's going to put it in. It's a free agent world now, and more than certain, the coaches are doing the same thing, and I know the players know that too, right? They know. I mean, everyone's talking. This is now in your face. This is not behind the scenes anymore. This is in your face recruiting on both sides from coaches and players, and you just hope there's enough really buy-in and commitment from the player to say, you know what, I'm not going to listen to all that. I'm going to do my best coming back, and I have an opportunity to get better and improve this team. I'm going to do that, not just listen to the rumor mills, or I can be doing better somewhere else. And who knows, Jim, the other side of this, man, if there's coaches prowling, other coaches reaching out, emailing, texting, and you got a friend over there who's not playing well, how about tell him, come over here? I don't know that rule, right? Tampering. I know there's a tampering rule in the NBA, right? There's a fine, but what happens at the college level? But yes, it's a new day in college.
Let's see. I don't know how long we have you with us. Oh yeah, you're gonna be with us for a minute today. So, but all right, I got to bring it up, man. Did you watch the Oscars last night?
Man, you know what? I had to replay it. I had to replay it, and I don't know if that was real.
That was real. That's real. That's real.
I looked at that. Man, I look. Okay, unless. I looked at the slap over and over and over. I tried to look at different angles because I was like, did Chris Rock move his face fast? Or I mean, but if it was real, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that was like, I was thrown when I saw that.
Mind-boggling. Well, Chris Rock seemed to be thrown because he, you could tell he was off the deal after that. And why wouldn't you be? But I think what made it real was the follow-up verbiage afterwards. He kind of seemed to make it known that he was serious, which kind of a weird deal. I mean, I get it. His wife is dealing with something called alopecia, which causes hair loss. Yeah. So she shaved her down. I don't know. Is that out of line or not, man? I mean,
well, I think if Will Smith did that in honesty, perspective from me, it had a little bit more than just that joke. Because I know all year, for the last several years, her name has been in the tabloids for a lot of other things, family infidelity, exposing a lot of things. I think that if that slap wasn't just that slap, I think it was more of his frustrations of all he has to absorb, what he heard, rumor mills, because that was very passionate, if it was, because he walked up, calm, cool, collected, did it and walked off and sat down and said his words. I think that slap was a little bit more than a joke. Because I mean, he's forever being funny and laughing and cracking jokes about people.
And the funny thing is, while Chris Rock is telling the joke, if you look at the replay, Will Smith is laughing,
cracking up. Now, that's why I was like, I don't know if was it planned? Was it like, he's cracking up laughing, then he just walks up. But I didn't see Chris Rock change his stance. That's what made me like, is it planned?
I don't think he thought he was going to do it for real.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
But my last thing on that is, I promise you, had that been Jason Momoa telling that joke, Will Smith ain't getting up out that seat. He's going to keep his ass sitting down because Jason Momoa is about twice the size as Will Smith, and Will Smith is bigger than Chris Rock.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean,
but he's not doing that to Jason Momoa.
Yeah, well, here's the funny part about it. I guarantee you, both of their catalogs are going to increase. You know how we doing this on the western side of the world. They're going to probably make more money off that. Will Smith's going to probably do a drop on that. It's like, then he's going to apologize. I didn't mean to do that.
Always. Hey, we got to take a quick break. The Fish is with us next. Don Fischer joins us. We've got plenty more in a full day here on this Monday. Charlie Miller's with us at the moment, and we'll be back with more. Brought to you by our good friends from the WOW Network. Make sure you go there and sign up for your My WOW Club card. You can go to either of your app stores and get that, and it will give you tons of savings to tons of places like Southern Stone, Cabello, the Allery, Feast Market and Cellar, the Courtroom, BB's Market and Cellar, Butchers, Bakers, all kinds of great places from My WOW Club. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting
Good morning, Don.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
How you doing, sir?
Good, Charlie. How you doing?
Good, bro. Good.
Let me see here. Hey, John. Hold it. Maybe it's me.
Oh, you're talking about that music?
No, I heard the music. That's not a problem. I was just trying to get my level here.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Charlie. Yeah, you played with Dane 1 year or 2 years?
You know what? I came out in 98.
Say again?
I came out in 98. And I'm sorry to draw a blank. Was
Okay.
Dane there? Dane?
He
No,
came in the 98-99 season.
Exactly. Came in right after. Exactly.
Right.
Now,
So
I've known Dane for quite some time, even like in high school, middle school days. If you don't know, my high school coach went to high school with his father and family.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So funny story. So when I was a rising senior in high school, I spent the night at Dane's house in Clarkston, and we woke up and played. We hooped and with his brothers Dugan and Jeremy, and then Dad took me to Ypsilanti, Michigan, to the ABCD camp.
Very cool. Cool.
So cool, personal story, but no. So I've known Dane for a long time.
Yeah, I didn't know if you played. I didn't think you played with him, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
I mean, interesting. Yeah, man. I just wish him the best. I knew he's gonna land on his feet, but I don't. One of those mysteries for me.
Yeah, trust me, I'm not pleased about it, but nothing I can do.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I'm the producer with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, located at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington. Great food with a Southern comfort flair. Welcome aboard, Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. Don, how are you, sir?
Good, Jim. How are you doing?
Great. Not as good as you are, I bet, because I know this is the gateway to the summertime for Don Fischer, baby.
Well, unfortunately, the weatherman is not cooperating a lick, and I'm really upset.
No, he's not. No, he is not. Not this week. He's going to make you hold off another week. He's going to tease you a little bit on Wednesday. I saw the temperatures are going to get up to the 70s, but it's probably going to rain, so that won't help much. But
Trust me, I also saw that weather forecast, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not very happy about
it. We've reached the end of the season. We've got one more weekend of college basketball as the Final Four is upon us. It was an incredible tournament. We've got 4 Indiana players in the portal and a new assistant coach. So not lots going on since we spoke last.
Well, I can tell you this, the changes we expected, at least from the players' perspective. I wasn't real sure about the coaching perspective, but all that said, Mike Woodson's got to do what he's got to do and make his decisions based on what he feels is best for the program. And obviously, he makes a coaching change with Dane Fife leaving and bringing in Brian Walsh. I've known Brian since he came on campus 5 years ago as an assistant to Archie Miller, not an assistant coach, but in a recruiting analyst and video and all those kinds of things, all the backstory type jobs that you have in college basketball these days. I think Brian is a great fit for this program. I know that I think he was offered by somebody else to get a head coach or an assistant's job this year. And when he went in to talk to Coach Woodson about it, I think Coach Woodson told him, "We want you right here." So I think he'll be a great fit for the program. I think it's a very easy transition, if you will. The players all know Brian, and I think they respect him. And I don't think there's any question that Brian will do a great job. I feel bad for Dane. I wish the fit would have been better. Obviously, it didn't work out. Dane will land on his feet. He's a really good basketball coach and a great person.
Absolutely. It's a little bit of and I'm sure for Charlie, you know Dane a little bit better than all of us do, but it's just, it was just such a shock, I think, to most Indiana fans. I'm sure it was a shock to you, it was a shock to me. And when something like that happens, because it's kind of like family, and that was kind of out, it wasn't kind of out of the blue. It was right out of the blue. It was a punch from the left side you didn't see coming.
Yeah, no one saw that coming, but families grow up and we grow out, Don and Jim, and Dane is a strong personality. He's a strong person, and and I know it's unfortunate because again I don't know what happened, but whether it was difference of opinion or philosophy, play, whatever it is, we can all speculate, but the fair job. I think Dane, that's why he signed up. I think he knows that about this industry. He's been in it for over 15 plus years. So yeah, he'll land on his feet. Unfortunately, he's not at Indiana, and I just wish him the best.
Absolutely. Don, as we move forward now, like you said, we've other 4 players right now in the portal. That could change. That might not change. We don't know. We do know they needed 3 people to leave, so that magic number has been reached, which means there will be at least one new face that we don't expect or weren't expecting, and there could be another one or 2. We don't know yet. But the room has been made for the 3 guys coming in and for yet a new face.
Well, there's no question the transfer portal plays into this big time. Without doubt, the 4 guys that are leaving, I don't think is a big surprise there of any of the 4. Rob would be the one that I thought maybe might stick around for another year of college basketball at Indiana. But the number of injuries that he's dealt with through his career, I think he just feels like he needs a new surrounding, a new atmosphere, so to speak, to deal with. But again, it does open up a spot for Indiana to go out and find somebody. And the question is, what kind of player are they looking for? Are they looking for a big? They're looking for an inside guy. With Durr going, there's no question there's a need for a big if, in fact, Race or Trace decides that their seasons at Indiana are completed. We'll just have to wait and see, because I think a lot basically is going to be balanced on the fact that Trace or Race or both come back or leave. And at this juncture, that's right now what we're waiting to see what their decisions are, because there's no doubt if both those guys come back, this basketball team has the nucleus to be a really good really good team next year. But if one or both don't come back, then you've got to fix that issue, because bigs are what this team probably is going to end up needing. You're going to need another big of some kind. So I would think that's what Indiana's looking at right now. So you hope that those decisions are made here in a timely fashion, and it doesn't play out to be at the end of whenever the tryouts for the NBA are, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then everybody's made their decisions, or at least the best players in this portal have probably done so. So right now it's kind of up to the players, to these two players, to dictate what they want to do, and hopefully they make their decision soon.
And one thing, Charlie, is this coaching staff is in a better position this year than last year, because they weren't even in a position at this point last year. So now they're going into the portal. They know what it is. They know what it's like. They know what they have at the moment and what they potentially might have. So they're a little bit better situated this season than they were 1 year ago, going into the portal kind of blind and late.
Yeah, I mean, now there's a comfort level with everybody involved. So you got at least your core. You have the majority. For me, you got some scores. Your two top scores are in this kind of middle ground place. You don't know what they're going to do. So I understand that, but at the same time, now you got to start your spring, summer, fall development for the younger players. You need them to be more active. The people that know they're going to probably take on a bench role and spot minutes, they all need to now, learn how to increase their efforts to be player ready. Just being honest, guys, what I don't want to see is
he's keeping it a mystery.
Charlie, you faded out on us, big boy.
Well, while we wait to get Charlie back, I don't want to forget Michael Lewis gets a new job at Ball State, and we kind of had a hint of that out in Portland when Mick Cronin said Ball State would be crazy not to hire. Hell, that job was probably already done at that point. Looking back at that now, but congratulations to Michael Lewis. I know he's super happy and looking forward to getting his head coaching career started, because he's waited a long time.
Well, I talked to Mike in Portland for about 20 minutes at our shoot around, or at the UCLA shoot around. I hung around after we were done, and UCLA came out on the floor, and we had a little reunion out there with Mike, and had a chance to talk to him. And I said, what's going on with you? I said, are you ready for a head coaching job? And he said, if the right thing comes along, I'll be happy about it. I'll look forward to it. He said, but I want it to be the right thing and the right fit at this point. Now, whether he knew at that juncture or he talked to Ball State at that point, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm really happy for Mike. I think it'll be a great fit for him in Muncie. I don't think there's any question. That's a good job. I mean, you're playing in the Mid-America Conference. It's a good conference. You should be able to get the kind of players that you're looking for at Ball State, and I don't think there's any question he'll be excellent in that position there as his first head coaching position.
Rick Majerus didn't have a problem getting started there, baby.
That's right.
He cranked her up. Charlie, I think, is back with us now. When you left us, you were saying the one thing you didn't want to see was, and that's when you dropped out.
It might have been IU's network cut me off, because that's why I think it's my conspiracy. I said what I don't want to see this spring and summer is the weight training bodies. The pictures on Instagram and social media on weight training and the triceps and biceps. I don't. Please, players, save yourselves. Okay.
It's funny you say that, Don and Charlie, because I did notice a comment by Mike Woodson that he's going to get with Cliff and get a plan together for his guys. I've never seen it since Cliff has been here. The coaches say that. It was just kind of been left to them. Maybe he wants to go in a different direction with what they're doing. I don't know. Guessing.
Keep it private. Yeah, just keep it. Yeah, I don't care about beach bodies, man. We need to learn how to put the ball in the hole come off screens, cut, understand our go-to options, counters. Show me that you're working on that. I don't want to see. This me personally. I don't want to see it.
So no
That's just
60s
stuff.
movies out there dancing on the beach
I
and all that stuff,
I
man.
don't want to see. I don't. All the bodies in the weight room. No, we didn't do too well this year to be doing that.
Right,
Oh, man.
Here's the good thing, Charlie, about that. I never saw any of it because I'm not on social media. I don't do Twitter. I'm not on one single social media site. I know less about what's going on in the world than any man in the country, probably, just because I'm not on social media, and most of which I really wouldn't care about anyway.
Well, I'm with you. I'm not as active, but when I just go to a random IU group because I just say yeah, and then one day I'm sitting around looking at IU stuff, and all of a sudden you see the guys in the weight room posing and shirts off, and I'm like, okay, this is not the year to do that. I might want to keep that. And the vlogs and all the vlogging and all that stuff, man, keep the diaries to yourself. Let's keep all that to yourself, players.
I wonder, after last season, the first kind of season new to all of that, will there be less of that this year, Don? Will we see a little bit less of that and a little more focus on basketball? Not that they weren't focused on it, but you know what I'm saying, a little more where they try to actively not make it as apparent.
I don't know, because I don't even know what you're talking about. Because
Well, good. Well, Don, just stay ignorant to it. That's my point. Stay ignorant to it.
You don't know how lucky you are.
Well, here's the thing. Obviously, I'm old, therefore I don't really care. I mean, social media to me has been a bane on the entire existence of mankind.
Exactly. I'm with you.
So to me, it's like I really don't care. I'm sure you don't care what I think, and I really don't care what you think. If you understand what I'm saying here, in regard to social media, I could care less. And I think, in fact, I think it's been a detriment to players, to coaches. It's ridiculous. And if you actually pay a lot of attention to what is said on the internet or on the in social media, you're in trouble. I mean, you've got to be in trouble. So I would caution my players. I would say, look, get off of every bit of it. There's no reason to be on it. You don't need to hear what a bunch of people who don't know what they're talking about have to say.
Hey, man, but Don, you're messing up my NIL deal. Come on, man. I need to Buffalo Louis is calling me, man. I gotta, I gotta advertise the wings, man. Come on, Don.
Hey, trust me, I love Buffalo Louis, but it wouldn't matter to me. I could care less about the NIL portion of it. And trust me, if the NIL was for broadcasters, I wouldn't be on there either.
Even the cheerleader who got the ball that was stuck in Portland got an NIL deal.
Yes, it's amazing.
There you go. Well, Don is about to not take off for the summer is not really the right words, but to recoup, regenerate. Man, you've really had a double season this year. There have been many times where work was just overlapping, where it seems like it hadn't overlapped as much in the past. You had a lot of overlap this year.
Yeah, well, that's kind of been the case for about the last 10 years now. I've gotten used to it, so it's not like it's anything new. We generally have 7 to 8 basketball games in November now, and we used to have maybe 1. So that's changed dramatically over the last 10 to 20 years. But honestly, I really think, from my perspective, I'm doing exactly what I want these days. I'm doing play-by-play of football, play-by-play of basketball, the 2 coaches shows, and that's it. I have nothing else other than my little forays with you guys and 4 or 5 other radio stations that I do this on Monday mornings with. It's so much fun in that regard. And now I get to play golf for the rest of the summer. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, Jim and Don. Let me give Don some heads up. Where I come from, Don, when you say little in front of things, it's like a little disrespect. The little show you do with Jim and Charlie, the little, Don, I know you're big time, Don. When you say little, hey, I see the little job over there Jim is doing. Come on, Don, man. I'm over here trying to be like you. And it's like, the little thing that just didn't rub me right. I'm sorry.
Charlie, let me just tell you something. You need to set that bar a little bit higher. If you're talking about this being big time, man, you need to set that bar's got to be set a little bit higher, Charlie. Come on,
I
man.
like it, man. I'm having fun with you, Don.
He is the best of the best, and man, we're going to miss getting to talk to you every week until back in the fall again. But hope to see you out on the golf course, whether Bloomington Country Club or wherever. I hope you have a great, fun season and get rejuvenated, baby. Was it 48? Number 48 coming back?
It'll be number 50 coming back.
Wow. Oh, so we're there. Oh, God, dang it. Now we got to do something special every week.
Oh, no, we don't. If you're going to do that, I'm off your show. I'm done. Trust me. I've already
and he's not lying. And he's not lying, believe me.
I've told these people I do not want any of this stuff. I mean, if they want to have one time or something like that, that's fine. But that's it, And I got the Learfield people talking to me about, we're going to do all that. No, we're not. We're not doing all this stuff. We're just going to do it like it's normal. That's what we're going to do. All right, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. Have a great summer. Appreciate him joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by Southern Stone. We're back with more. Charlie Miller's with us as well. Charlie Miller, thank you, sir. I appreciate you as always, and we look forward to talking to you again next week as well, I guess, right?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys so much, man. Thank you.
You bet. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Endeavor Hospitality. Make sure you get your WOW card. Your WOW Club members can earn exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and more sent directly to your mobile phone. The WOW Club is comprised of all the restaurants that we talk about: Southern Stone, Bello, BB's Marketplace, all those. You sign up, you get money off your birthday, everything. It costs you nothing, but we just sure appreciate it. So go to mywownetwork.com and get that taken care of. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
An Evansville tradition.
An Evansville tradition.
Good morning, Dustin. Good morning, John.
Hey, Dustin.
Good morning, Jim.
Man, we go from one superstar to another.
Were you in Bridgeport this past weekend?
Me, I was not. No, we sent Seth Tao and Matt Cohen.
Okay.
Seth is our women's basketball guy, and Matt's been doing a lot of that for he's our intern. So,
gotcha. All right, Jim, you've got about 45 seconds. We'll go
I'm sorry. Did someone say perfect timing?
And right now, it's the Certified Dream Deal Sales Event. Get 0.99% APR financing for well-qualified buyers on all 2017 through 2021 Honda Certified pre-owned Accords, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Monday, Indiana Sports Beat Radio with you. Joined by our good friend Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times. Does it feel like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders after this kind of season's? It's like Don. We just finished up with him. He takes the summer off, but although I know you don't get to do that, neither do I. But it's like a weight has been lifted off for like a day, and then something happens, and you're right back into it, of course. But just take a breath for a minute. I don't know.
Yeah,
sure
a little, but I mean, last week wasn't stressful.
Exactly. It just doesn't stop.
That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, and there's still going to be more going on. I don't know exactly what, or obviously, they're going to have to hit the portal. Obviously they've opened up enough scholarships that they can hit the portal. So they're obviously going to have to do that. And so, obviously we'll have to track that. We'll have to see if anybody else goes. Obviously I think it made things easier that they managed to just promote Brian Walsh, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any more, coaching, turnover or whatever, unless somebody gets a head coaching job. Unless, things trickle down and someone hires Kenya Hunter. I think that's probably the only possibility of something shaken out there. And I would think it would have to be a head coaching job, for him to leave. Obviously there's less, now we got summer projects, man. We just bought a house, so we are not any less stressed over here. We're packing up. We bought a washer and dryer yesterday. There's,
real life stuff, baby,
stuff going on, man. It's
real life stuff. He's got real life problems
for sure.
Are you staying up there
in Indy? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And good luck with that. And don't call me to cut grass. It's too far away.
I didn't think so. Yeah. We got to get grass first. That's the issue, man.
Perfect.
We have to get grass to start growing before we can even think about cutting it. So
gravel is an option.
I don't like that. No,
it does not grow, baby. It does not grow.
We also have a dog, though, too. We cannot be letting the dog out in the backyard with gravel. Like, there's got to be grass.
I get you.
That's not negotiable.
The NCAA tournament has been one of the funnest that we have seen in, I don't know, maybe ever, at least up until this point. And then it kind of got back to reality over the weekend, as some of the teams we expected to win. But still, it doesn't matter. It's already a phenomenal tournament. We're looking at a conference that's going to have two teams that can potentially win the national championship that had one team ranked in the entire season. So it's like, from now on, it's like pointless talking about, the Big Ten's got 9 teams. Who cares? None of that matters anymore. It's just the postseason is just a different season. It's played differently. The matchups dictate that, and it doesn't matter what you do during the year and how much success you have, man. It is game to game, matchup to matchup.
Yeah, it really is. And also there's just the piece of you can never think Duke and Carolina are really down. You just can't. Like, I mean, I think it's one of those deals. We're talking about Carolina being a Final Four team and we're shocked. because they weren't at it. You know, we weren't even talking about them all year, and they're an 8 seed. But look at those dudes, man. Like Indiana wanted almost all of those dudes. You know, like I mean, it's weird, and I think it's. I mean, again, you look back at some of the scores and you understand why. I mean, Kentucky boat raced them. You know, Purdue beat them pretty bad. I mean, they lost some other games in there. They lost to Pitt, which doesn't make any sense. But look at that lineup, man. I mean, Caleb Love. I mean, remember how bad Indiana wanted Caleb Love? Like Archie wanted.
Dude,
Caleb
I see
Love.
why. My God, he was just killing it.
He was incredible. I mean, he was just absolutely incredible this weekend. I mean, he looked like an All-American guard. And you're like, well, all right, well, we could have seen this coming. You know, but he's been inconsistent the first 2 years. But you really see him. He's a big guard who could shoot the basketball, get to the rim, finish, pass, handle, everything else. Like he's got everything you want in a point guard. It just took a while for him to put it together. I mean, RJ Davis didn't have a great game against St. Peter's, but I mean, that dude went off with New York Rens. I mean, he would just drop 30 a night, and Archbishop Stepanak up there. I mean, that guy was a player, and he's had nights like that. And they're probably their second and third best player because Armando Bacot is one of the best players in that league. Like those dudes are dudes. So it's like it's one of those things where like you can never rule out the ACC just because they're the ACC. Like there is the point of it. It's a different play game. And I think it plays in the ACC's direction. Because they are more wide open. They've got more athletes. When it spreads out a little bit, they're more equipped for it than the Big Ten is. The Big Ten is equipped for a grinded out, you know, like, possession to possession game. When it gets more free flowing, I mean, the ACC, it fits the ACC particularly. But also, you know, the fact that they were down was weird. And, you know, it wasn't like there wasn't talent there. I mean, North Carolina is North Carolina. And, you know, those guys got players and they're going to have players for, you know, eternity. Maybe there will be a down year in there someplace. And it was, I guess, a down year last year. But, you know, rarely, even when they're like not great record-wise, they probably have the talent. It's just a question of getting it coming together.
Yeah, there wasn't a team in the Big Ten this year that just seemed to have it all. Purdue was and Illinois were probably as close to seeming like that with a great inside-outside tandems. But we saw even with that, it doesn't matter. And that should tell you going forward, man, it's winning the Big Ten is great, but just surviving the Big Ten to get to the tournament is where you want to be because it's a different game. And the Big Ten is going to have to look at itself. They haven't won a national championship since what, 91?
No,
2001?
2000, Michigan State in 2000.
2000, I thought it was 2001 is what I meant to say, but 2000, that's a long time, guys. And they're not even doing well in the tournament. So, and it's not like they don't have good teams. We know that. They've got great talent. It's a different style, and it is no longer one that matches up well in the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, you've had teams that have made Final Fours in there, so you can't say, okay, well, you know, they've never overperformed. I mean, you're just a couple years removed from Michigan State being the team that takes Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett out. I mean, like that's a big. You can't look at it and act like, okay, like the Big Ten's never overperformed. They've never surprised you. They've always underperformed. I mean, that's not true. But again, 20 years without a national championship, when you've been talking about this being the best league for a lot of those years, I mean, it does make you question some things. I mean, I think last year was really the wake up call. Where this year, I think, I mean, it's an underperformance, but it's a slight one. You know, because you looked at, all right, you know, like who was supposed no one was seated higher than the 3, you know, I mean, Illinois gets beat by an underseeded Houston team. And, you know, that's kind of supposed to happen. Purdue obviously getting beat by St. Peter's is bad. Wisconsin getting beat by, I mean, Purdue was supposed to be a Sweet 16 team. So, you know, but they weren't supposed to lose to St. Peter's. They were supposed to lose to Kentucky. I mean, who else are we talking about? You know, Michigan, I think, went as far as they were supposed to go. You know, I mean, obviously being Tennessee, that's nice. But Wisconsin's not supposed to get beat by Iowa State, and Iowa's not supposed to get beat by Richmond. So there's enough of an underperformance for you to circle some things and say, okay, what's wrong here? Now, every team's got its individual reasons. You know, Purdue obviously, I think, has to ask some questions about itself to say, okay, are we not dealing with defense enough here? Are we not talking about, are we not recruiting that? Basically, have we spent so much time on offensive skill and recruiting that and size that we've missed out on? We've got to get a wing defender. You know, Painter's, I think, good at knowing I need stuff as opposed to just athletes. But the lack of athletes, I think, I mean, Ivy should be able to guard somebody. Forget that, but somebody's got to be able to, defend wings. And you shouldn't be getting beat up by, St. Peter's guards the way they did. So, but I think, you have to ask yourself, okay, is there a stylistic problem, and what does that come from? And is that officiating? I'm the worst press row, official there is. Everyone's constantly sort of beating me up on Twitter about you didn't think that was a foul, or you did think that was a foul.
Yeah, I kind of let a lot of that stuff go too.
I'm the worst. I can never figure it out when I'm sitting there, because they're like, that was obviously a foul. There was so much contact there. He was, and I'm like, man, if you're watching on TV, you got a way better angle than me. You just either you got a better angle, or you're thinking of it because I'm tweeting and looking at stats and whatever, and I'm just not good at it. So I couldn't diagnose what's wrong with Big Ten officiating, but I think it's got to be a question. If your style of play doesn't jive with NCAA tournament play, then that's an area you got to look at.
Yeah, and that's something that they do have to look at that. Before I forget, I want to bring up the Indiana women's basketball program. Another great run for them. It ends in the Sweet 16, unfortunately for them. Allie Patberg will not return. Hillary Cardenio Hillary is gone, and also Alexa Gulbe, I believe, gone as well, right, from that team. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have some pieces back, but they're also losing a good chunk of that really, really good team that they've had for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's that whole group together obviously is going to break up a little bit, and you got to obviously give that crew so much credit for what they were able to accomplish for Indiana women's basketball. And just really have taken it to a separate plane. They've had successful seasons, and you got to go back to a Tyra Buss, I think, for really getting it going, for really starting it in this direction. But this team has achieved, this group of girls has achieved, group of women, I'm sorry, that was a bad thing to say, but group of women has achieved something that no one's gotten done for Indiana women's basketball. And I think they're going to be really remembered forever. If Indiana is able to sustain this or anything like it, you're going to be able to point back to this group and say, wow, that team really achieved a lot. And you have to obviously give credit for Allie for sticking it out for as long as she had, for injuries and transfers and the whole bit. And through COVID, that was just, it's just an incredible group. That being said, Mackenzie Holmes and Grace Berger is still a good core. Grace is just fantastic. It's so fun to watch her play.
She's the best basketball player that IU women's have ever had, in my opinion. I just think she is the best player. She won't be the overall points leader. She's not going to, but to me, just in watching her, she has to be the most and best complete player that program's ever had. Watching her play is like watching any male play. Her ball handling, it's amazing to me what she does. I'm like, wow, she is up there.
It's like I didn't watch Buss close enough to make the comparison there, because obviously Buss was a big deal. But Grace, just the things that she does are just so, she's so smooth. She's so fundamentally sound. There's so many things she could do with her game. I think, the one thing she's missing is the three ball. I think that's sort of you add that piece to her game, and it's at a different level. Obviously, she hits that 10, 15, 16, 17 footer. For some reason, she's just struggled to take it out further beyond the arc. I think because she needs a touch more arc on the shot. It's a little too level, and it goes down from mid range and less from outside. But bottom line, she can get to it, so many different ways. Just her ability to make things happen off a couple dribbles. No range. No wasted motion, basically. But the handle for a player that's a little bit bigger at really a three, it's just so sharp. Basically just everything she does is so sharp. She can pass, dribble, shoot, and the biggest reason they lost is UConn was able to take her away. UConn did a really good job of defending her, and that's the biggest reason. She was really held back there, but she does so many things well, and it's really just fun to watch her play basketball. She's just got it. She just does everything right.
So now we go into the silly season for college basketball. There are 4 players for Indiana in the portal. They needed 3 to get the incoming class in, which they've got that plus 1 now. Still waiting on decisions from a couple of guys, Race and Trace specifically. And right. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little surprised we haven't heard from Race Thompson by now. Trace's, I get is a little bit more intriguing because his involves the NBA. I don't know that Race does not, his decision is not involving the NBA as a potential landing spot. So, but just waiting to see how that goes. Does Indiana want both of them back, or do they want to go in a slightly different? I'm not saying, of course, they take Trace Jackson Davis back, and not that they wouldn't want Race Thompson. It's just they need something more. The wings. You talk about the wings that they did not get production from either Miller Kopp or Parker Stewart. They've got to have offense and defense from both of those spots because they didn't get either of those in great numbers this past season.
I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, the question is, all right, well, what do you? They have a chance to be better off. I think, you know, if Thompson goes, it's just you can't tell a guy that's been that versatile that he's got to go.
Right.
Know, that's really the issue. Is somebody who produced that much. Defense.
I mean, he that production. The dude, he may have been. The most consistent player. Trace Jackson Davis's numbers are bigger, of course. But I mean, man, Race was pretty damn consistent game in and game out.
Yeah, I mean, Race didn't finish particularly well. Like, he didn't have a good game against Wyoming. He didn't do. I don't know if he did any better against St. Mary's because everybody was bad against St. Mary's. But you know, for the most part, yeah, he was the steady guy that you could trust was going to be there all the time. That he was going to defend, rebound, score, get his buckets all the time, and you didn't have to run the offense through him. He was just going to pick up what was there. And so, you know, I mean, he was one of the most consistent guys. He was one of the most consistent sort of just figures and really was for the last couple of years. I mean, he just did so many things well, improved so much as a player and was able to get a lot done. So, I mean, you can't push a guy like that, you know, out to pasture, you know, like you got to wait for him to make his call. But if you're Indiana and you're thinking long term, you want Jordan Geronimo to start. You want to give him a crack at it. And he's not a 3 right now. You know, I mean, he could get to a point where you could put him and Thompson and Jackson Davis all on the floor at the same time. But he's got to become a small forward, which means a lot more ball handling than he showed he can do. And a lot more ability to defend the perimeter than he showed he can do. I mean, he's shown he can take on a 4 who drags him out there like an EJ Liddell. And that matters. I mean, that's important. That I don't need to you know, discount that. But guys that are really guards, 3s that are really guards, he has trouble with. You know, he gets out there and he can get crossed up. And, you know, you've seen that on a couple of occasions when he gets out on somebody who's really a guard and can break him down off the dribble, they can make him look bad out there. So you really want him defending 4s at this point, and you don't want him handling the ball out there that much. I mean, if you get him catch and shoot in the corner, he can hit that. But he's not crossing you up and keeping the ball together. I mean, his assist turnover ratio is not good. So but what he does the 4, fantastic. I mean, the rebounding, the shot blocking, I mean, just the overall energy, the ability to, you know, score off of rebounds. He's even got that little, you know, mid-range jumper on top of the 3 that he hits from time to time. He gives you everything you want as a 4. And I think you want enough minutes for him to really grow up and really take a next step, because he's been a good bench guy. He's proven he can do that. You know, I mean, he can be an all Big Ten power forward. So, you know, you want him to get those kind of minutes. So it's not the worst thing on earth for Race Thompson to move on. And, you know, you can stick a Caleb Banks in there. You know, he's got that kind of size where I think he's more of a 3, and he's got, I think, more of an advanced handle than Geronimo does. But you think you can play him at the 4. You can shift Miller Kopp down if he's going to stick around, so that he can play a stretch 4 with a smaller lineup. You know, those guys can take those minutes behind Geronimo at the 4. So you'd be in good shape. It's just you can't tell Race that he's done if he's not. But Trace then obviously is a different story. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't heard already that he's going to test the waters, because I can't see a reason why he wouldn't do that. Why he, you know, like I don't know if he should ultimately go or not go. But I mean, you know, this is the first year in his career that the NBA offseason is going to be normal. So the draft calendar is normal for the first time in his career. It's so he doesn't have to wait, you know, like, I mean, I can't remember what even obviously his freshman year was when COVID hit. So that was a total mess. But the year after that, I mean, it was still, you know, last year it was even still didn't make any sense. Not make any sense, but it was still pushed back far enough that it's an issue for your team if you stay in the portal or if you stay in the draft or whatever, or take your time in that. He's got a chance now, I think, to just get a quick and useful water testing, and if he finds out that he's not a first round pick, he can come right back. But if he finds out that he is, he can go. And so I don't know why I'm surprised he hasn't already said, like, I'm going to go find out. I'm going to go get my at the very least go get my feedback and find out what I need to do as a senior if I'm not good enough already.
I was going to say, part of it is we all know he's not a first round pick, and we don't even know that he's a second round pick for sure.
It's changing though, man. I saw NBA draft.net is pretty good, and they've got him as a first round pick. That's movement. That's changing.
That's definite movement, because that's the first time I've seen him jump up into that level.
Haven't even seen him in the draft. I mean, he really helped himself. I mean, you got to remember, I mean, and I think we knew it was a big deal at the time, but we don't know, what it means for draft people, because you didn't see a lot that you hadn't seen from him. But it was just on a higher level. I mean, remember, he averaged 26 a game from Michigan on, I think. I mean, it might have even been Purdue, but I think it was from Michigan.
Well, he had a phenomenal season, no question.
At that end of the year. So, I mean, he does that in front of people who matter. I mean, like I know Bob Meyer, the Golden State Warriors, was sitting right behind me in Indianapolis. So people saw him do that at Big Tens, and he was fantastic. And, he was great at Wyoming too. I mean, he was unbelievable at Wyoming. So you throw all those games together and, you see a dominant player. And I do think, as we've talked about him as Indiana media, we have really honed in on the jump shot. And there's reason for that, because, I mean, he's 6'9", and that's not necessarily a true 5 at the NBA level. And so it's like, okay, well, you've got to be able to shoot. But not every guy his size at that level can shoot. Not all of them. A lot of them can, and certainly more of them can than used to. Obviously, the 3-ball matters a lot more, and most guys can hit a shot. But, there's Montrezl Harrell, there's a Tristan Thompson, there's guys like that. If you can really, really rebound, if you can block shots, if you can run the floor and rim run, there's a place for you. That you probably have to be an all-star, but there's a place for you in an NBA roster. And so, like at the end of the first round, I mean, you're not going in there to be somebody's star player. You're going in there to be, to play a role for a team that wins. That's a playoff team or something like that. So it's not the same. It's not somebody that's bringing you on to be their, like game-changing center. You're there to play a role. They've got somebody else who's their star, and you're supposed to fill in. And for a team that doesn't necessarily need, they can use a small ball 5 and doesn't need him to shoot threes, there might be a place for him. So we'll see.
Well, then you've got things happening just south of us at Louisville with their coaching change. You had a decommitment of Deontay Davis, who is from Warren Central in Indianapolis, whose older brother, is already on the Louisville roster. And so there's all kinds of movement going on. So you never know who's going to end up where. But the things you talked about earlier, I think that's going to be closer to an Indiana team that the fans see next year, because Woody now has a season under his belt. He saw what he got beat by and got beat with, and what he doesn't have and what he has to have. So now it's a lot easier to go to the store now, so to speak.
Yeah,
you know what you need.
Have. Yeah,
you know the ingredients that you need to make whatever it is you're trying to make. They just didn't have them last year, and it makes a big difference. Now you go back to the store and say, all right, I don't need that stuff. Here's what I need here, here, and here. Yeah, and they're a lot more focused now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. That's the best way I think of putting it. Is he knows what the ingredients are of a good team, and he knows where to find them. It's like also like, all right, what aisles they're in. To that point, I mean, obviously he's still, I think, relying a lot on his assistants to know, who can play, who can't, and stuff. But I think he's obviously seen, okay, what did I feel like I was missing this year? What wasn't there? What didn't I have on offense? What didn't I have on defense? And so, yeah, I think he absolutely knows what he's looking for, and he knows how big of a deal shooting is. He's got to replace 53 threes. That's another thing. Is like we're like, okay, he knows he has to get shooting, but he also has to make up for his best shooters lost. For everybody that was, down on Parker Stewart toward the end of the year and he wasn't shooting well, he still hit 53 of them. Like that's a pretty big number, and nobody else was close to that. So, it's definitely he's going to need that, and he's going to need more. But he knows where to go. He knows how to run the deal with the portal now. So he's definitely going to come in with this with a lot more understanding than he did a year ago.
And the last thing for those that say that Trayce Jackson-Davis needs more work before he goes pro, long ago stop saying that. There's one group that will decide if he should go or not. That's the people who draft. If they draft you, you should go, because
exactly
they can work with you a lot better than you can get worked on right now. A, B, you're going to get paid, and C, you're going to get paid to do nothing but focus on basketball, not going to class, not having to do this, just being tutored in basketball. So that's why I'm like, stop with they need to do. No, fans think they need to do that to keep them on their school for another season, but they need what the NBA says they need. If they're draftable and they draft them, hey, you got to go.
Yeah, and I mean to that point, I think the whole thing with Trayce in terms of not developing a jump shot. I mean, some of that is it was never best for his team necessarily, and what will change is if he needs a jump shot at the next level, it'll be best for his team, and his team will make that happen. Again, like I think a big reason why Trayce Jackson-Davis didn't take jump shots is in the moment, and too often in the moment meant we need a bucket here or we lose. What's the best way to do that? And it's him getting the ball on the block or in a pick and roll or something like that, or getting close to the basket. It was very the best thing for his team to step out and from 15 feet. And so, I mean, the value, there's other issues here with NIL money, and he doesn't need to go make 40K at the G League. He's probably making more than that right now.
And he will be making more than that next year. It's why I've continued to say I expect Trayce Jackson-Davis back for one more year.
I think he'll stay, but we'll see. And the thing is like, as far as developing a jump shot is concerned, like if we're just talking about that, it makes more sense for him to go to the G League in a place where wins don't matter. So the bottom line is there's a lot to consider, and that's why you should test the waters and find out. Have an evaluator tell him this is where you are, this is where you should go, this is where we can act, because I don't think that the jump shot gets fixed next year, because I think he'll be in the same situation where he needs to be close to the bucket to score, to win. And so I don't think you'll see him take 30, 40, 50 jump shots, because that won't be any different. He's going to have to go practice and whatever, but a 15 jump shot's not an efficient, 15-foot jump shot's not efficient, and it's not the best thing for Indiana to win. So it almost makes, if it's just about development, it makes more sense for him to go to the G League where the games don't matter.
Brian pointing out Julius Randle learned to shoot exactly the same situation. Trust me, if they'll do what they want to do with you.
Right.
If you're valuable enough to be drafted, you be drafted. Hey, what's up next that the readers of the Bloomington Herald Times need to know, Dustin?
As long as I don't screw it up, we're going to have a 20th anniversary piece on the 2002 team this week. So look for that. Like I said, as long as I don't mess it up. And obviously we'll just keep tracking the news, and we've got football, man. We've got spring football. We've got Tom Allen later today, so I'm sure I'll be seeing you on that. And see where that stuff goes, get a sense of what's up with those guys so far, and hopefully we get some open practices where we actually get to go down there and see what they're up to.
Absolutely. Dustin Dopirak, make sure you give him a follow from the Bloomington Herald Times. Can't thank you enough, brother. Look forward to doing it again next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Have a great week. Dustin Dopirak joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home and not. Cheryl at IndiaHomePros.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
This will be a quick break or segment. Excuse me. You only have about 5 minutes till you commercial again. What'd you say?
Who's up next?
Reamer. don't know what you're saying. Just tell me when you come back.
I said, this is where I should extend this segment because we have 2 segments left.
No, you have 3. You have this one, the next one, and the one after that because you took Dustin for 30 minutes.
Right. And, what I'm saying is, never mind. It would be easier to take one of these blank ones long as opposed to having it short and then having another long, empty segment.
You don't have any long, empty segments left unless you're one to dump Reamer early.
All right, well, we'll see. No.
And just a heads up for later this week, Dustin Schutte will not be with us on Thursday or any other day this week.
That sucks.
Yeah, I know, but what you gonna do? I'll see if we can find another co-host for Thursday. Have you been able to reach out to Verdell recently, or is he still?
Recently.
Do what?
I have not tried recently.
I may try one more time, but
What for? Wednesdays or something?
one to fill in Thursday for Dustin since we don't have Dustin this week. But if he wants to do it regularly, then it'd be great to have him on Wednesday.
At least we got Charlie. It's Monday still.
I mean, yeah, that's true. At least he does a couple segments with us. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. It's a good-looking day out there, but it is a little deceiving. It's not that warm. Not that warm. Not going to be that warm. Wednesday's going to warm up. It's going to rain, so there's that. Looking at the Andy Moore Honda hotline, and people are commenting all kinds of different subjects. I see Peyton Manning. I see Tom Brady. Just all kinds of stuff. Names out here. Knight, Julius Randle. Also reading, it's kind of funny. Did you, after Will Smith slapped or whatever Chris Rock last night, he won the Oscar for best actor, and then gave a speech about protecting people. I am looking forward to seeing the movie King Richard, based on Richard Williams, the father of Serena and Venus. I'm looking forward to seeing that movie because it sounds like that he did get a bad rap, Richard Williams, that is, along the way. He certainly is not like, who are the NBA players, John, that I don't even want to think of the names? to with the father?
Who are we referring to?
The two NBA players whose dad's always running his mouth.
Oh, the Ball brothers.
Yes. Lamelo and
Lonzo and LaMelo and LiAngelo.
Yeah.
Some people forget about the third one.
Well, that's because he's the Cooper. He's the Cooper Manning of the family. That's true. He's the one who didn't make it. But yeah, there's a new Lilly commercial, AT&T or whatever, and he's in that. It's kind of funny. First time I'd seen him in a while, thank goodness. He was way too much of the show.
Coach K commercial with in AT&T or whatever it is.
I think it's kind of funny.
It's not as bad as the Nick Saban Aflac commercials by far.
Well, the sheer fact that anyone would expect Nick Saban to be able to act, I don't blame Nick Saban for that, man. You ever seen his press conferences? I love him, but yeah, it's you can't expect him, especially you're gonna put him up next to Deion. Come on, man. Deion can do anything. He's just natural. That would be like when Bob Knight did commercials. They were horrible. It was funny. It's just funny when you put people who not only can they not act, they don't care about acting. That's what's funny. I love when you see people in those positions. It just, to me, it makes it even funnier. Chris said he got scolded. What in the world? I'm reading all these comments. So now that the basketball season's over, the playing part of the season, now you got the after season. You've got the portal season. We're going to have soon after that, we'll have the AAU season. All-star season, all that. It doesn't stop. Football plays right into that as well. As Dustin said, we're talking to Tom Allen today. So it doesn't stop, folks. It doesn't stop. It just seems like it. Well, as the boss just said, we got to take a quick break, and we'll do so. We're coming back with Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana after this, brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone, Cabello, Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic, but BB's Market and Butchers and Bakers. Man, it's Foreman Wagon Wheel in Bloomington on the south side of Bloomington. You can order online these specialty meats, big, thick steaks. You need to look it up, but you can do all that under your WOW Club card too. And you get build up points. I'm telling you, there's no place else you can do that. Check it out. Back with more. Jim Reamer joins us right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
Would you look at that? It's the Caramel King.
What happened?
Nothing. Just want to say something stupid.
Oh,
that is funny.
I was called an asshole the other night. Wait,
are those two things synonymous?
You say that like that's a special occasion. I could say that every day.
The wait, who watches the YouTube stuff? Because we've actually done a pretty decent job of keeping this down low.
Everybody does.
Oh, all right, I'll keep it down low.
He said, "Who watches the YouTube stuff?"
Well, I know we just had an issue at the state finals with the crowd behind us.
We need to talk about it.
No, let's don't, because it's
not to like personal with somebody.
It does. It was somebody that I like, and I just.
Tell me off air then. What happened?
Well, this isn't off air technically.
We're not off air.
We're not we're not on radio.
Well, you know, the
still
funny
over
thing is
100 people watching on YouTube. I'm just trying to keep his.
There's actually a handful of people that learned that I had a girlfriend the weekend that I was driving her up to Chicago.
It wasn't from here because I didn't know about it.
It was. I just didn't say I just didn't talk much about it. I just said I was driving a friend to Chicago.
Oh, see that went right on by me.
And she happened to be in the camera view for a couple of seconds, and we weren't.
Oh,
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. Next thing I know,
I'm getting.
Yeah. Next thing I know, I'm getting text messages saying, "Hey, I saw the YouTube thing." Yeah. So
I do. Really? If it's the same day that you were talking,
these are people that know me. These are people who listen to you, who watch this.
Right.
Who also
I get
happen to
I just don't remember that. I don't remember that situation.
There was a day when I'm like, I've got to drive to Chicago at the last minute, and I do
remember John you going to Chicago, and I remember you being in your car, but I don't remember seeing anyone with you.
Remember, you guys were like doing, "Hey, your video's off. Your video's off." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not doing video on this."
Yeah,
but it was like for a split second.
Gotcha.
So,
all right, here we go. I think, yeah.
So I'll keep it off YouTube.
From Brinker's Jewelers. They want to be surprised with the one-of-a-kind proposal in the little green box from Brinker's Jewelers, where every one of our diamonds are hand-selected by an owner of the company. That means every single diamond has to meet a Brinker standard on beauty and value. So if you're planning on getting engaged, your engagement ring needs to come in that little green box from Brinker's Jewelers, voted the best jewelry store 9 years in a row by Evansville Living Magazine and the Readers, located at the corner of Green River Road and the Lloyd Expressway, or online at brinkersjewelers.com.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. Ready to get your week started. Jim Coyle with you here as always. Joined now by Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana. How are you, sir?
Well, man, how are you guys?
I can't complain.
That includes John, the producer.
JTP, baby.
I'm doing well.
Nice.
Good way to start the week, as always.
Nice.
I saw someone Tebow ask if you had a Whataburger. Yeah, they're in Carmel. There is no such thing as Whataburger in Carmel. Wahlburgers are in Carmel. Big difference, baby. Don't confuse it with Whataburger. There's no comparison.
Yeah,
we don't have Whataburger yet.
We're getting a Culver's. I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. They don't let. Well, it's technically not in Carmel. It's officially not in Carmel. It's technically Carmel. They're not letting any chains in the city for any foreseeable future. So unless it's like a higher end, everything around here is local, which is nice. There's a lot of good local spots to eat, a lot of good local spots to hang out, and it does have a good feel.
Our good friend John and Scott Laskowski are in the Culver's family.
Nice.
They have one in Bloomington. I know that they're opening one up in Seymour. So they're going to ROCK in the USA down there, baby.
Yeah, there was a projected spot that was going to be right on Carmel Drive, which is basically the middle of the city, and that would have been very convenient. So it's a good spot.
I'm not a fan of the fries.
I just get the burgers. Yeah, Freddy's. I don't get fries there either. I don't eat fries anymore.
Oh man. Oh God. Freddy's fries with the French fry sauce, the spicy sauce. They're very similar to Whataburger fries. They're very similar. But Whataburger has the spicy ketchup. So good. Yes. It's been too long since I've had a Whataburger, but actually they have one in Nashville, outside of Nashville, Tennessee, not Indiana, of course. Yeah. So that's as close as we have a Whataburger to our location. Indiana high school basketball has come to a conclusion. Mm-hmm. A little surprise in a 4A, man. Not that Cathedral won, but they just stomped the dog snot out of Chesterton, who had been undefeated coming into that and had beaten some good teams to get there.
Yeah, that was definitely a surprise. Look, nobody was going to beat Cathedral Saturday night, not the way they played. And unless I think there was some feeling around this area of the state that Chesterton really hadn't played anybody or hadn't done enough to give the impression that they played anybody. I do think there is a welcome to Indianapolis mentality with some of the schools. I know I convey it at times because, you can get an average team in the MIC or even a bottom feeder in the MIC and still be really darn good. And I know Cathedral's not part of the MIC, but they're part of that equation. And they had every intention of coming out and bullying Chesterton, and it worked. I don't know that they would have bullied some of the teams that they could have otherwise faced, especially the sectional 8 teams with Carmel, Fishers, Westfield. Obviously, Westfield won the sectional. But, they didn't take care of business in the regional. So, the bottom line is Chesterton did what they needed to do to get there. I know there's some people in this area that were like, oh, we would have done better. Well, okay, we did. No, maybe not, I mean, I might think so, but you didn't take care of business. So Chris Mullen did not play very well for Chesterton. He is not their best player, but he's
kind of old, man. I thought he was retired.
He's their major outside threat, and they were 2 for 22 from the 3-point line. That'll
kill you, baby.
I mean, Cathedral was 6 of 18. That's not very good. I mean, that's 33%, which is 50% from 2 mathematically. But so 6 for 18 isn't terrible, but it's not game changing. 2 for 22 is game changing, and I know a lot of that was was later in the game when they were trying to buy back possessions, but. Travis Grayson was 0 for 10. We've sort of been harping on him in our podcast about how he's been under-recruited. We wondered a little oftentimes if he was like a low major, like a low D1 kid, and you kind of find out that now he's not. I mean, and that's why, because he doesn't really shoot the ball very well from the 3-point line. And he is noticeably smaller than Tayshawn Comer, who is going to Eastern Kentucky. And it wasn't like Tayshawn had that great of an offensive performance, other than the fact that he was, sort of the meister out there of finding people, because he was only 4 for 12 from the field, but he also, did a great job of directing that offense, and especially in the half court. And then they've got other guys who can make plays in transition. So basically, the 2 big guns for Chesterton went 0 for 18. That's not a good stat. So,
nope.
And a lot of that credit, I would say 90% of that credit is Cathedral's defense. The other 10% might be panic mode, maybe, or little shock. But 90% of that is due to the kind of defense that Cathedral was willing to play that game, and they just completely bulldozed them, and it was very shocking.
Yeah, it was a surprise there, and we'll get back to that too. And in 3A, what was that one like for you?
Well, it kind of we thought. I think most of us thought that Mishawaka Marion would win, just because we liked their discipline. We liked that we didn't think that they would turn the ball over 19 times, which they did. I mean, somebody said that made a point about Mishawaka Marion only turned the ball over 2 more times than Beech Grove, but Beech Grove's used to turning it over 15 to 17 times a game. They rely a lot on chaos. They rely a little bit on helter-skelter. And, so they're able to play through it, and they didn't even shoot that well from the 3-point line. A lot of it was free throws. They were 12 of 16 from the line, where Mishawaka Marion was 3 for 3. Mishawaka Marion could not get downhill in half court. They could not capitalize on Beech Grove's press. They couldn't turn it into their offense, which good teams do or should do. They in the half court, Richard Brooks, we thought kind of looked for him to see what kind of game he could have. He kind of struggled. So the 2 kids that we've been harping on all year about being under recruited get their Grayson and Richard Brooks both get their teams to the state finals, but both have struggle in the final game. Brooks especially struggled in the second half. And the star of the game there was Anthony Ball for Beech Grove. That was the kid against Sullivan who had a lot of foul trouble. Didn't play a lot of minutes that game, and he was a difference maker. He would be a difference maker athletically in that game. Was surprised how big of a difference maker athletically he was in this game. Just because Kaleo Kakalea for Mishawaka Marion is a good athlete. Darian Thornton for them is a good athlete. Those are two guys they rely on production from. He erased everybody. I mean, he did struggle. Ball struggled from the field. He was only 6 for 15, and most of his offense is around the basket, so he had to go through a lot of traffic to get baskets. But he had 20 rebounds, 11 offensive rebounds. He out-rebounded on the offensive glass. He out-rebounded Mishawaka Marion on his own, and just an overall impressive effort from Ball. 17 points, 20 rebounds, 3 blocks, and a lot of altered shots. I don't even think the stats. It says BA, which I assume is altered. Ball's altered. He altered way more than just one. So they were a Cathedral or Beech Grove as a whole was just entirely too quick for Mishawaka Marion. We were surprised how easily they sped Marion up. And Jeremiah Tate, by the way, had 9 steals to go along with his 12 points and 4 assists. So just a tremendous effort on Beech Grove's part to make Mishawaka Marion completely uncomfortable. And Marion had done a good job of scheduling. They had played bigger schools. They'd come down to Indy and played teams, even though they got kind of took a licking. But they were completely sped up, and they did not handle it well. So their main 3 guys each had 5 turnovers, and that's not a good day. So.
Well, now we move forward to recruiting and this, that, and the other thing. Who's going to go where? Transfer portals, all of that stuff that kind of lays on top of the high school guys, because who's going to leave? Who's going to enter the draft? Who's going to sign an NIL deal and stay an extra year? NIL. We talk about how that may help some of these players coming out, but it's also going to hurt because it's going to take up spots that, like Trace Jackson Davis is a perfect example. In any other year, he would probably undecidedly be gone if NIL did not exist right now. But NIL does exist, and I think that he will be here next season with an NIL deal, which takes a scholarship. Which, I mean, you can say that on one hand. On the other hand, you could also say, well, he gets the full 4 or 5 years to use that scholarship, which he has not used up till now anyway. But He'll be here next year. Normally he wouldn't be here, and he's not the only one. There are, and across the country, I can only imagine how many guys that is going to keep in college basketball that would not have been there. And then that kind of keeps pushing high school guys down.
Well, the NIL is not the transfer portal is the recruiting killer. That's the problem from my perspective as somebody who is an advocate.
Well, I think if you add them both together, it really makes it just worse. Boom.
But you think about it, it just puts us back. The NIL might put us back to where the importance of college is not just about the importance of college, but the fun of it. These guys obviously all have NBA dreams at one point or another in their lives. They certainly all have professional dreams. I mean, who wouldn't want to get paid professionally to play a sport they love? But you think about it, it's still only been been 15 years since early entries were just commonplace. I mean, you go back to Kevin Garnett was the first one since Moses Malone, right? Or Daryl Dawkins. Which one was the later of those two, going back to the 70s? But you didn't have a lot of the high school stuff.
I can remember.
Yeah, you didn't have a lot of the high school stuff until, the very beginning of this the very beginning of this century. The 90s didn't see a lot of it. The early 2000s started to see some of it. But, you go back to, the Odin and Conley era. That was the first group that had the 2006 class was the first group that had to basically complete a year of college before they could enter the draft. So we've had 16 years of this quote one and done era,
which is ridiculous.
But now the NIL, but that's an NBA rule. So,
I know it's just a ridiculous rule.
But now you have this NIL era where if it compels these borderline kids to stay in school, especially those who are making decisions purely for financial reasons, I think this is for the better. And in TJ, in Trace Jackson's Davis case, they don't need the money. They're not struggling. I mean, the money's nice. He may be making more money than his parents now, but even while in college, but they would never have to worry about him going pro just simply to survive as a family. The decision there would be, and as it should be, is that is his best interest for his career. And again, we've talked a lot about it on our podcast. I've written a little bit about it, and we've talked a little bit about it here. More and more, when you look at the lack of more, when we look at some of these lottery picks, even who don't get into their second long-term contract because they struggle to even get any sort of traction in an NBA rotation. You have to pay as much attention to your floor as a player than you do your ceiling. And I think Cody Zeller understood that. Again, that was a family that didn't need money, that didn't need him to leave early so they could make ends meet. And for those families that do, I feel badly for those that have to make decisions based on financial reasons. But Cody knew he wasn't ready to play, or felt that he wasn't ready to play at the NBA level. And, he stayed the extra year. It did absolutely help his draft status, but he was also good enough to be in an NBA rotation right away. I'm not sure he would have, he probably would have figured it out because he was a smart guy who was a good defender in college. But Trace has got to consider, how am I going to play at the NBA that gets me to be in a better spot than just an NBA journeyman? Most of us would take NBA minimum money for a contract, no doubt. But I don't think any of these guys have goals of just being a journeyman. I think they all have goals of being in the rotation. Some of them have goals of being a star. And, that's fine, except that's a very rarefied air. And if you're going to stick in the NBA, if you want to change your life, if you want to change your life, you need to get to that second contract. And the only way you're going to do that is being part of an NBA rotation.
No doubt about that. Hey, we got more to talk about, and we'll do that when we come back. Who's going to stay? We don't know for sure. Who is staying? That we know. We know who's coming. How will that help Indiana next year? How will they look slightly different? Just all kinds of things. And some of your comments as well, as you guys are going at it on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. I like it. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. #1 for a reason. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. And we're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting.
Okay.
I just figured out how to see all the comments that come across the screen.
Really?
Well, I never looked over there. I just looked at private chat and never did see the extra tab.
Oh, man.
That was always like for Charlie and me to ask each other questions.
I never see the chat until it's too late. I'm like, oh, man, they sent me a question. I was like, damn.
Yeah, every now and then.
Does a pretty good job of noticing the chat. There are some people who are like you, though, Jim. They don't have a clue that they can look at it.
Well, I know. Oh,
no, Reamer.
About me. I'm like, I got a clue. I just don't always have time.
See, that's the problem. I know too many gyms. Way too many gyms.
That's true. Yeah, there's a bar we hang out here where there's like 7 mics and they just all have nicknames now. So
is it like that Amish school that has the million Burtons? It's a little.
No, that was Edinburgh. That was Edinburgh. They had 7 Burtons.
I am so hungry.
Only 2 of them were related, at least like closely related. The rest of them either unrelated or distant. Well, there's a fierce debate going on in the. Why are Purdue fans here? Well, because they like to listen to sports.
They've been
That's
angry.
Right, man. This is a sports show, bro.
Since the beginning of the show today, but that's how it
I'm
goes sometimes.
And I'm one of those IU fan guys and obviously I'm a Butler fan too because they're just right here. That I can't ever specifically just root against Purdue. The stuff that I do, there's too much familiarity. I mean, I recruited Stefanovic down to our AAU program, so there's no way in the world I could ever root against him except when he's playing my direct interest, and I feel bad for the Purdue coaching staff. So,
Doug, Hoosier baseball is not ranked. They are currently, I think, 9-13. They are not off to a hot start. They had a very difficult start to the season, though, schedule wise, from what I've been told.
Yeah, they played some good teams.
I think they played Clemson on opening weekend. I don't know how many they lost of that, but I'm sure it wasn't pretty. They just beat Evansville this past weekend, but that's Evansville. You're supposed to beat Evansville. You got a question from Ross, Reamer?
I would tell him new good pubs. We'd just tell him to go to Brockway. Brockway
what
pub.
The hell's Brockway? Oh my God! Don't tell that to Kevin Brockway.
Let's talk. We gotta tell Kevin tomorrow.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
No, there's Brockway. Depends on where he should be.
He won't know that means being outside of his bubble.
That's true. All right, here we go. 10 seconds.
Or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the WOW Network. Go to mywownetwork.com, and you can find out all kinds of goodies. Great places like Cabello, the newest, open up on the square, former Grachi location in Bloomington. Great food. I wish I was eating it right now. The end of the season, now it's not quite in. We got the Final Four yet. Kind of a unique Final Four. Did I hear correctly that this is the first time that Duke and North Carolina have met in the NCAA tournament?
Mm-hmm. Heard that. Yeah,
Ever.
That was
in like 32 times that they've both been in the tournament together or something, and they've never met. How is that freaking possible with the NCAA going to the greatest links of links to make things happen that don't happen? I guess because North Carolina and Duke have been so successful for so long that they've been able to stay out of the same region.
Well, they're also usually top 4 seeds, so they do try to space some of that out. And if one team doesn't get to the Final Four, if they're not really in its position to meet until they get to the Final Four, then as good as those programs are, they're still rare time, not many times when they're both going to get to the Final Four.
Man, does this mean Duke's automatically going to the championship game? Because it's hard to beat. Have they played 3 times already or twice?
Twice.
I know, and they've lost to Duke both times. Hell, the North Carolina beat Duke at Mike Krzyzewski's last home game.
Yeah, I mean they stomped them at Duke. So,
and it just shows you, people, their last home game, Mike Krzyzewski's last home game ever, he got the crap kicked out of him, and he's in the Final Four. So it's just been amazing how before you had to get momentum by mid-February. You had to be now, man, you can grab it in conference tournament weekend. You can grab it in the very first game of the NCAA tournament and just catch fire with the right matchup, because not every one of these teams were lighting it up at the end of the season, and Duke's a perfect example.
Right, and what they've been. Look, who's their point guard? I guess he's played better in the tournament than what he did to close out the season. Obviously, Ben Caro has been brilliant during this tournament run. And, he was a guy that, he's still a top 3 draft pick. And I don't think he's done anything to damage that, but there was a stretch there where it looked like he may be a little bit disinterested, not being as productive. But then he's been great. And I've watched him. I've been surprised by his playmaking. That's been the big surprise to me. So, you look at if they're getting consistent effort, from all their players and their big guy, Miller, daggone, I need to know these things right before I talk about them. I didn't watch a lot of Duke until the last 2 weeks. They've been impressive to watch, and I, but it's a rivalry game. So, Indiana, Purdue could meet in the championship game, and you wouldn't put it past Indiana to just beat them. I don't think
absolutely not.
A lot of that stuff matters.
Not now, not this. That was a long time ago. Michelle's got, she needs Kansas to win. She wins, she wins the NCAA pool, her pool that she wins at. Congratulations. I'll be honest with you. I'd hate to see Kansas win though. Just because is that one going to be put up with a perforated top, the banner? If they were to win, is that a perforated banner that they have to pull down? The NCAA still investigating Kansas. I know that this is for previous stuff, but
you're going to write it in pencil.
Would any of this have any bearing on a potential national championship this season? We saw them do it to Louisville.
Right. It just depends on how much evidence there is and whether or not. I mean, look, the FBI didn't care about the recruiting part of this. They just cared about the stuff that was, directly related to their investigation of the Ponzi scheme and the initial layer. They could have gone down if they wanted to, and they talked like they were going to, like we're going to change the scope of college recruiting. Well, no, all you did was usher in this era of name, image, and likeness, and further highlighted how these kids were getting. I've never felt like the kids were getting screwed, but then when you see people using their influence illegally, then it just became, well, screw that. Why not?
At the end of the day, did any players get screwed over? I'm still yet to see something where, well, this guy nobody got screwed over. None of the players got screwed over.
Well, yeah, none of them, because a lot of people never cared whether or not they took money under the table. Brian Bowen got screwed over. If you look at it,
he got screwed over but he got screwed over by his father.
Well, he got all. Well, yeah. Look, here's the thing. It takes two people.
There's his dad
right
there.
You absolutely. There's been a lot of that over the years. There's been a ton of that over the years. There's been situations linked to Indiana where Indiana would tell kids, no, we're not interested. But it takes two people to violate a rule. If a school offers a family money and the family doesn't take it, there's no transaction. So so a school like that wouldn't get penalized. And likewise, if a player or family asks for money and the school doesn't give it, then no one's violated a rule. The rule doesn't talk about requests and solicitation. It talks about acts of illegal payments, acts of inducements is basically the word that they use a lot.
And they were still never, and I'm not taking up for like Louisville, or Pitino. He's the only head coach who got fired, and nothing was ever shown that he did anything. That's the funniest thing of the whole deal.
Well, I think that's a compilation of a few things, don't you?
Oh, it's a whole lodge of crap. It started with the shoe companies. But
there's the strippers and the.
Oh well, yeah. Yes, he made life terrible on himself, but he had nothing to do with that either. But anyway, I could care less. I really cared about them.
I don't know that he has nothing to do with that. We got to believe. I have a hard time believing stuff like that happens to the scale that it does without the head coach knowing. There might be one situation. I mean, we act like Indiana's never violated a rule over the years, even during the nighttime. Even during the night area, that would be naive. But to think that it happens at a grand scale, without him knowing it, there'd have been no way.
Let me tell you, if you think things didn't happen and Knight didn't know about, I promise you, there was a lot of stuff that Knight didn't know about, because if he had, he'd have been whipping behinds. What some of his players were doing sometimes. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like any kid on any team. I mean, and I'm not talking about taking money, that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about being.
Oh, I'm talking about taking
students.
money. I'm talking. Well, the college student stuff is normal. I mean, unless you get somebody who's just a habitually, failing drug tests, because they smoke too much weed or something. But I'm talking about taking money. I mean, I saw it firsthand. I mean, it's frat parties where players are getting cash, and that's used as sort of that happens enough where certainly a single player would be in trouble, but it wouldn't happen to the scale of involvement with assistants and involvement of managers or involvement of whatever. There's no way in the world Knight would have ever obviously he would have never allowed that to happen, but there's some things you just can't control. And and when it goes unchecked and when it goes unthreatened, it would continue to go on and on. But Knight made it clear to everybody he's running a clean program, and that's the way it is. And that's
can you imagine him today in this era of NIL? I don't know if this would drive him from coaching if he were actively coaching, but man, oh man, it would drive him insane, I think.
I other than maybe any chemistry issues it might create in the locker room, I can't imagine him having a problem with it. And I'll give you an example why. He talked about giving a player a ride to the hospital, that the NCAA would not allow him to give it. Like he used Alan Henderson as an example, because obviously Indianapolis is close enough that it was just a short drive for him. He said if Alan Henderson came to me and said that he needed a ride to the hospital so he could go see his mother or father or whatever, I don't remember which one he used the example. He said the rules would prohibit me from doing that. He said, but I would absolutely do it because I care about Alan Henderson. And I think that Knight was always about living by the rules. I don't think he was all about some strict doctrine that he had on his own. Beyond just his absolute coaching style. I think anything off the court with him was driven simply by rules and him wanting to adhere to them because he didn't want to ever had a bad mark against his coaching career. But, in instances where some of this might be taking, might be impacting locker rooms where one kid's getting this much money and somebody else thinks they should be making that much money. At that age, a lot of those heck, at the NBA level, the feelings get hurt. Why does this player have endorsements? The NFL level, why does Baker Mayfield have so many endorsements when he's as bad as he is? The college level, I think that's the juggling of egos would be the issue there, not necessarily whether or not players were making money, but.
Yeah, and that's where we are today. So, and good for them to a degree. It's going to be interesting how college athletics changes over the next couple of years. Some schools like Indiana are trying to get all sports involved. While I think that's admirable, I don't know that is practical. I don't know if focusing on getting a member of a sport team that is nothing but a drain on an athletics program to get them paid. I don't know that I agree with that. I just don't. I'm sorry. They're not doing anything to make money. They're getting a freaking education. It's a difference between a business sport that generates income. There's a reason why, and I don't understand this is going to create disharmony on the bench. Bull crap. That's like anything else. Every team has a highest paid player. Every team has the lowest paid player. Every business has the highest paid employee and the lowest paid employee. Life is life. Get used to it. You might as well get used to it now. And if not being the highest paid player on your college basketball team is an issue for you, you got bigger problems, in my opinion.
1 minute.
Well, I agree with that, but at the same time, it's something that coaches haven't had to juggle up until the last.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the part of it, is because that's they've always been able to say we're all on equal footing here. You get what you earn. And now you throw in a different element. And these kids are still young. They're still immature. But as far as the other non-revenue sports, you look at situations where these are sports where scholarships can be split. Men's basketball, scholarships can't be split. It's either 100% or you're a walk-on. At these other sports, a lot of these kids are paying to go there. And if they could figure out at a team, especially at a team level, I wouldn't expect these athletes in non-revenue sports to get individual deals. But if at a team level, they could figure out some way to drive some corporate money their way that ends up getting dispersed evenly among the players, I don't see why. Not that you said it was a bad idea, but I see the value in that because it would be a situation where they can level that playing field a little bit and make these kids a little bit more comfortable because it's costing them money like it is anybody else. They just happen to have a little bit of extra scholarship money because they might be able to play baseball, play tennis, run cross country, whatever.
Man, it has been another great opening day. I cannot thank you enough, Jim Reamer. Look forward to doing this again next week. Cannot thank Don Fischer enough. I look forward to we're going to miss Don for a few months, but we'll have him back and we'll replace him. But Charlie Miller as well. Plenty more. Dustin Dopirak as well was on with us, so I look forward to having him again. And then back tomorrow with the same crew. Kevin Brockway, of course, Mike DeCourcy, and Chronic Hoosier. Man, I hope you guys go out and have yourselves a great day. Thank you to all of you. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.